Hey there, Aquarius. This is your ascendant forecast for the week ahead, going from Monday the 22nd right the way through to Sunday the 28th of December 2025. I hope you're well and looking forward to this week. This is a festive week for some of us. And for others, it might not be a special week at all. But it's usually a week where there is some disruption because obviously lots of people's usual timetables change and shift and alter. Lots of people move around and family visits ensue and all sorts. So I do see that this is quite a chaotic week often. Now, throughout the last month or so, we've had some very, very busy weeks, lots of exact trines, lots of exact squares going on astrologically. But in this week ahead, there's only two real notable aspects that I'm really going to be reporting on. And there's just one planetary change of Venus going into the sign of Capricorn. So this is a calmer week. However, those two aspects I'm talking about, I think, are telling a bit of a story of emotional maturation, like the idea that we're maturing in our emotions and we're coming to terms with something quite big. So I see it as a bit of a purge, but I also see it as potentially being quite peaceful as we come into the Christmas period. So what I'm hoping to do is pace you through it and give you some ideas on what might help you from your Aquarian perspective. If you're new to this channel, by the way, my name's Louisa. Welcome to Feel Good Astrology. I hope you enjoy it. So I'm going to bring up the charts now. And as ever, I just want to say a little shout out, share my gratitude to the people who have historically and right now who are supporting my channel. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So anyway, these are the two charts. This is the first one. You'll see as we start this week ahead, the moon is in the sign of Capricorn. By the end of the week, the moon is in the sign of Aries down here. You'll also see that the sun is right at the start of Capricorn because we have just gone into winter if you're in the northern hemisphere, or summer if you're in the southern hemisphere. And Venus is going to change signs from Sagittarius to Capricorn, and you'll see all these guys shift down a little bit, just like that. Now, this is using a Western tropical whole sign model. What that means is there's one sign per house. And this is the first house, first, second, third, fourth, right the way through to the 12th. If when you look at your birth chart, which I'm sure you will do, because most people that follow me, they do know what their birth chart looks like. They know what their ascendant looks like. If you've got the sign for Aquarius and also the sign for Pisces in your first house, it's an indication that Pisces is also worth listening to, because you've also got some Pisces first house energy as well. So anyway, let's have a look now. So the first day then, Monday, as we start, the moon is in the sign of Capricorn. And so we start feeling quite forthright and moving forwards. And, there's actually a lot of moon movements on Monday. But the two I'm going to talk about are the last two that happen on Monday, which are very much about energy and frequency and very much about the Aquarian energy. And that is, the moon is going to go into a trine with Uranus, then it's going to go into Aquarius, your own sign, and then it's going to make a conjunction to Pluto in Aquarius. So these aspects seem really quite big to me, and they're very much about frequency. Now, where the moon starts off in the 12th house is this place of unfinished business. It's also a place of what's hidden, and also where we might need an emotional rest. And so I really think that the intention you go into this week ahead with is important, because by the end of Monday, it feels like, when people say, don't pull a face, because if the wind changes, you're going to be like stuck, like squinting, or, your face is going to get stuck. I really feel that you need to choose your energy wisely, because when the moon comes into this lovely trine with Uranus, which is the ruler of, or one of the rulers of Aquarius, and then the moon comes into Aquarius and also connecting with Pluto, I really think that's a huge energy stamp. The moon in the trine with Uranus is going to speed things up. It's going to give you a lot of additional insight, like flashes of insight. And if you're already well attuned to a good vibration, that's going to be evident. But of course, if you're angry or peed off, or you're behind and you're feeling pressured and you're making like snap decisions, I think you're going to get snap situations coming up, you know. So I think it's really important to stay as positive as you can all day. And also, you know, when the moon comes into a conjunction with Pluto, it's really, really powerful. And of course, power can be good and power can be disastrous. And you want it to be strong power where you feel in your energy, where you feel completely empowered, which I guess is what I'm saying. You know, it's strong, it's strident, it's in control, it's capable. Because here's the other thing, you know, the moon, when it comes into the first house, we often feel a lot more emotional than usual. You know, we wear our heart on the sleeve. And so between the 22nd and the 25th, Christmas Day, you know, you're wearing your heart on the sleeve. So you want it to be strident, positive, empowered heart rather than really strong, emotional, upset heart, a manipulation heart. You know, that's not going to be helpful. Tuesday is quite interesting because the moon makes a sextile to Mercury. So there can be a lot of chit chat going on. So you can get things off your chest as well. But it could also be that there's lots of great scenarios coming up with connections and friends and networks. That's another reason why it's good to keep your energy clear. Don't be around draining people, you know, stay with people that are keeping you up. Now, on the 24th, which is Christmas Eve on Wednesday, this is when our first big aspect comes in exactly. And that would be the square between Venus and Neptune, going from the 11th house of friends and networks down into the second house of money, resources, and how you feel about yourself. See, Venus and Neptune are both love planets. You know, Venus is terrestrial love, like normal love, like the love that humans can really experience. And Neptune is a very idealized, conceptual love, a spiritual love, the idea of unconditional love, a love that maybe we can't realize on planet Earth in, you know, through our usual relationships. It's a completely different entity almost. And it could be highly idealized and romantic. You know, there's a lot of romance with it, rose-colored glasses and stuff. And so this square is really showing us where we could feel very much a victim to love, quite possibly because we've had illusionary expectations of the people around us. We might have put a lot of pressure on them. They might not even know that that pressure is on them, but it's in our minds. We've built up these kind of fantasies and longings and nostalgia for maybe something that can't even exist. And so I do think this energy could bring up something that is completely impractical, never going to happen, and really difficult to deal with. Thankfully, it's not in one of the most difficult places to experience. You know, from the 11th house to the second house, to me, this might have more to do with how far a friendship will go rather than a romantic relationship. This might be more about the power of friendship and how, when it goes wrong, it affects our self-esteem. You know, like, do you feel good enough for your friends? Do you feel popular enough, for instance? Do you feel like you've got a lot to offer? But anywhere where there's this idealism of how it should be and how much you give and how much you don't receive, I think these stories are about to collapse under this square. And this is a theme that's going to persist for the rest of the week, but it will get weaker. But on the 24th, it's very, very strong. And then thankfully, Venus comes into the sign of Capricorn. Now, when Venus comes into Capricorn, she's going to, be in your 12th house. So she is calming down a little bit. She's not so social. She's a little bit more retiring. So you might not put so much pressure on other people or expect so much from other people. And you might just want to kind of sit back a little bit and observe. But also in the sign of Capricorn, she's really pragmatic. So you might find that all of a sudden you're like, okay, enough of these expectations for the people around me. I just need to have a bit of space. I need some boundaries. Maybe I need to downplay my needs. Maybe not. I mean, that sounds really grim, but, I need to know where love responsibly starts and ends. This is a time when you're grown up and sober and discerning about your attachments and the people that you choose to spend time with. So I do think there's some deep learning, and you might be retiring with it a little bit. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with just retiring a little bit and taking your time. Now, as we come into Christmas Day, the moon by this time is in your second house, which is very much about money and resources and how much you've got, and what you like. What's your value? Do you value yourself? And it does have quite a bit to do with your self-esteem as well. And so, again, I would really encourage you to spend time around people that you feel valued by and who you feel strong and admired by. If you're already on the back foot going to spend time with people that you suspect don't really like you or value you, that could be a little bit difficult. Now, one of the great things about this is the fact that the moon in Pisces is felt more empathically and intuitively. And, the sign of Pisces is really kind and considerate and really does want to be gentle. So if the moon was in, say, I don't know, in another sign that was much stronger, you'd be feeling it so much more, whereas this is a lot more subtle. But it's really important that you find, if you're spending time with family members and you don't feel valued by them, that could, you're going to need some strategies to just keep you lifted, keep you kind of in your own trajectory and not to fall under in your own acceptance of yourself. I think it's really important that you accept yourself fully as you are, in such a way that no other person's opinion of you is going to shake that. Now, if you can do that, you're much stronger and better than I am. So, I honor you if you can. But there are going to be people that are going to help you. And they're the people who are observant. They're the people who are like you, most likely, sensitive, gentle, perceptive, maybe fellow outliers. So like if there's a big family thing going on or a big friend thing going on, you might choose to just see who notices energy, see who notices what's going on. There are always some strong and dominant characters that kind of take over, and you might feel much more comfortable on the outskirts, doing little bits in the festivities with like-minded people. I think that's important. Now, the moon here is going to make a series of sextiles, which I think are going to be very complementary and easy to work with. A moon sextile to Venus, to the sun, and then to Mars. And this is going to feel gentle. It's going to feel nice. It's going to feel kind and generous. And so I think you're also going to feel like you've got resources that you can share, which will feel really, really good. And they might be skills and talents, or it might just be that you come with like armed with pudding and presents or something. I don't know. But generosity and, what you're sharing, I think is important in terms of your self-esteem on Christmas Day. Also, when the moon, like at the end of Christmas Day, the moon is in a conjunction with the North Node, which helps you feel back on track. So I think if you spend your Christmas around the right energy frequency, you'll end that day feeling really lifted. Like birds, will be lifted up with the right thermal undercurrents. So like be with the right people is my advice. And then on Saturday, the 27th, the moon comes into the sign of Aries, and that's your cue that it's time to kind of get out of there and get on with your usual life and meet up with people and just be kind of busy. To me, it looks like you've got a busy weekend of seeing people catching up, and it's a really different place to where you started it from. the beginning of the week, there's this like feeling of introversion with the moon in the sign of Capricorn. And this is naturally a time when you are more introverted than usual. But by the end of the week, with the moon in the 3rd house, it's really opening things up. Now, on this last day, which is Sunday the 28th, there is also a very healing thing coming in, which I think is going to heal everything that you feel about yourself socially. So Mercury in the 11th house is going to be working with Chiron in the 3rd, and the moon's also getting in on the act, making it a bit more emotional. So it's important on the 28th, Sunday the 28th, to be open and vulnerable about what you're feeling in your local environment, you know, maybe with local friends or something. If something comes up and it feels like it needs to be shared, it's okay to share it. Or it looks like it's time to share it, because Mercury in this trine with Chiron is there to explore anything social that has felt out of place, where you felt you couldn't be yourself. And some of the things, you know, it might be where you felt a bit repressed or a bit bullied to be yourself, where you felt like you had to be like this to be liked. Whatever it is, I think it's coming up and out, and it's going to be a bit of a breakthrough. You know, to me, it's showing that these old wounds can almost speak for themselves, and in that observation, they get transformed. Now, obviously, you do have Pluto in your 1st house, which is super strong anyway, and he's going to be there for a really long time, for at least another 18.5 years. But you've already gone through a lot of these developments. But to me, this is very, very healing at the end of the year. To me, it's almost drawing a close to the whole year. It's like summing up everything that you've thought and felt, and it's making it okay. It's finding the lesson in it. So yeah, there's definitely a shift. I would say there's a shift. So anyway, I'm going to leave that there. I hope that's helpful for you. And, you know, if you like these forecasts and you'd like more, then why not join my community? It's a free community on the school platform. That's skool.com. You can scan the QR code above my head. Or you can go to www.skool.com/feelgoodastrology. You know, there's extra forecasts there. I'm going to be running a short introductory course to astrology, just to get people familiar with different terms and things like that. And then if you want to learn astrology with me, you can also do that via school. So yeah, just come along and see if it's helpful to you. So maybe see you there, but if not, have a beautiful week ahead. Really enjoy yourself, however you spend this time. And hopefully I'll catch up with you all soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.